Coming up next, it's the Pro Wrestling Report Primetime. TNA releases a knockout, a death in the professional wrestling world, and the Monday Night Wars are upon us this Monday night. We're going to discuss all those things and so much more coming up next on the Pro Wrestling Report Primetime.
Since 1998 on television, ESPN Radio, and the World Wide Web, this is the Pro Wrestling Report with your hosts, the man they call Meathead, Frank Cosentino, and Damian Nelson. Professional wrestling news, opinion, and information from fans for fans.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to this week's edition of the Pro Wrestling Report Prime Time. Damian Nelson sitting alongside David Hero. What's wrong? You look a little uncomfortable.
I'm just waiting. It's been a rough past couple days.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Well, we got a lot of hot news to get to for today's edition.
You don't
Wednesday,
want to know what's been the problem?
Friday, March 5th, 2010. I thought you were teasing. We'd get to it later, but if you'd like to elaborate now, feel free, sir.
Last night, go out with some buddies of mine, and they dump garlic on my pizza.
I can't believe you're doing this.
I thought it was Parmesan cheese. Do you know what it's like to wake up at 3:30 in the morning with, like, cups of garlic?
Oh, I know.
It's ridiculous. Terrible. So it's been rough, and plus, we'll talk about some of the other stuff, but it's been rough, man. I'm hurting.
Yeah, you're hurting for certain.
Yeah, absolutely.
A lot to talk about this week, as David has alluded to, and let's kick it off by talking about a release from TNA Wrestling, TNA Knockout Tracy Brooks. Her release was this past Wednesday from TNA Wrestling, Wednesday afternoon, and I can't say it was very surprising. However, you got to wonder what the circumstances behind the release were. And at pwrshow.com, we did present to you actually that official statement from Tracy Brooks, which I'll read, and I guess that will set the tone for the discussion going forward. Hot news. It always comes to us first.
Hot news, absolutely.
And Tracy says this regarding her release from TNA. Just wanted to take this time to say, yes, I was released yesterday afternoon from TNA. There's nothing to report or any stories on why. Simply, they had nothing for me. I love my time at TNA and will look back at my 7 years with them with great fondness. TNA is a family, and unfortunately, this is the nature of the beast with family members coming and going. I will still be wrestling and doing conventions just like I have been this whole time. Thank you to the ring crew, cameramen, production, creative, and of course the talent, who I have shared so many good times with. My only sadness is not being able to say goodbye to these people in person. I do have my eBay store, which is Tracy Brooks Direct to You, the number 2, where you can find Tracy Brooks merchandise. My MySpace is TNA Knockout Tracy Brooks, and my Facebook, which is Tracy Brooks. I do not or have not ever had a Twitter account, and those are the only 2 sites are my only social network. So if anyone is following me on Twitter, sorry to say it's not me, as well as Facebook. There's an imposter, but Tracy Brooks is my only Facebook account. And she finishes by saying, thanks again to my fans for always supporting me and all the great times I've had over the years. Looking forward to what life has in store for me. God bless. And please watch TNA Monday nights, as I will still be cheering on my family, including my husband. That the official statement released to us by Tracy Brooks regarding her release of this past Wednesday from TNA Wrestling.
For me, I'm sure many of you know that Tracy Brooks has been, I've been a big fan of Tracy Brooks. She wrestles on my GLCW shows as well, and I've known Tracy for 5 years.
She's been on this program as well.
On this program, and she's even promised us her only interview she will do regarding her release.
And that'll be on 540 ESPN. Check pwrshow.com for the date of that interview.
But, I think TNA handled this pretty poorly.
All right.
I mean, there are only really a few months left on her contract. They could have waited. And let's face it, they didn't really invest anything into finding a storyline for her.
Really, the last time we saw her prominently featured was as part of the Main Event Mafia storyline when she had made her return.
Which tied in with the Playboy,
mm-hmm.
But it's like, I've known Tracy. She's a team player. She's a sweetheart. She's the original knockout in TNA, and for them to not find anything for her is like, wow. You can tell it's a different regime in TNA. They bring in people that, if you want to look at dollar-wise, what they can bring in, I think Tracy could bring in just as much as some of their new signings.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to mention names, I'm sure people can figure it out. But, yeah, it's unfortunate. And, but that's just the way of the wrestling business, that your shelf life isn't very long, and when they have nothing for you, that's what happens. I wouldn't be a bit surprised if, there's some interest from the company up north.
Really?
Well, she has a lot of friends up there. There's a few other Canadian wrestlers that I know were at her wedding that are in some pretty good roles up there.
Tracy started with TNA Wrestling in 2003 and spent a lot of time with Robert Roode. Did quite a bit, actually, in TNA, all across the board. Was the Knockouts Authority figure. Was in Playboy, as you said, in July of 2009. It seems as if, at times, the company was fairly solidly behind Tracy. Yet all of a sudden, as you said, with just a couple of months left on her contract, to release her seems almost somewhat malicious.
Well, and I'm sure there's some politics in it also. And for the one website out there that's saying it's because that she had marital problems, completely
It wasn't the
off base.
PWR website.
No, I won't even mention them because it's just bogus. It's not true, and yeah.
Is that one of those dirt sheets everybody keeps talking about?
Yeah, it is a dirt sheet.
Was there malice behind it? Does Tracy have enemies in TNA? When Hogan and Bischoff coming in, is this potentially something where they simply just saw her as not part of the overall mix, or is there some kind of history there?
If you're not being called to show up at TVs, no one sees you, no one knows what you can do.
Yeah.
Obviously.
She was in Playboy.
Well, that's different than actually being in the ring.
Yeah, but that's a cross-marketing opportunity. You see how well WWE has utilized their former partnerships with Playboy.
TNA dropped that ball and literally kicked it out of bounds.
Mm-hmm.
They blew a great opportunity because certain people within the company couldn't keep their mouth shut, couldn't keep things hush-hush, and it just made everyone look silly.
A fumble for sure. Tracy Brooks, you think, may show up or may be a part of World Wrestling?
You never know, but if you do want to see Tracy Brooks in your neck of the woods, just email me at the PWR email link, because we will be taking bookings for Tracy Brooks, whether it be conventions, independent shows, personal appearances.
Personal appearances for a group of people, not an individual.
Well, I may have to go along if it's for like a bar mitzvah or something, I can be the bodyguard, come on.
Thank you, Mr. Costner. Tracy going to be part of the Pro Wrestling Report on 540 ESPN. She's going to have a lot to say, I'm sure. And check PWRshow.com.
And it's her only interview. She's only going to do one, she said.
Just like Kennedy and just like, Anderson and Brian Armstrong and Sean DeVary.
Yeah.
I think we had them first as well.
And you know what's funny? This past week, we're talking about Ken Anderson. You know how some other sites are now reporting about the whole firing thing?
Yeah.
We knew that back in August. We had that here.
Yeah.
A little late.
Unfortunate news, the father of both Lanny Poffo and Randy Savage, Angelo Poffo, has passed away. Angelo was 84 years old, and an interesting amount of history from Angelo Poffo, specifically here in this area, Milwaukee and Chicago area. He was in the Navy. He actually had the world record for sit-ups, did 6,033 sit-ups in 10 minutes time, and still holds that world record to this moment. His first match was in 1949, and guess where? Beloit, Wisconsin.
How about that?
First match ever was in 1949 in Beloit, Wisconsin.
This is about 20 miles down the road.
Exactly. And he was inducted into the WCW Hall of Fame. Last time publicly seen in wrestling was about 1995 in WCW. So Angelo Poffo, a man obviously who gave wrestling to good performers, was a good performer himself. He actually went back and taught wrestling in Chicago for a number of years. And now he has left us at the age of 84. He was sick, so it did not come as a huge surprise, and the family was somewhat prepared. But it is still a sad story, to say the least.
So now there might be a Macho Man sighting?
I would expect so.
He might, come out of the woodwork. We can see him with his nice Santa Claus beard.
Oh. Angelo Poffo gone, and obviously our condolences go out to his family. If you would like to leave a memorial message for Angelo Poffo, you can do so via pwrshow.com, pwrshow.com. And if you aren't already, be sure to follow us on Twitter. Our Twitter name, PWR Show, each of us on Twitter individually as well, including the Kaz. The Kaz is on Twitter. Frank Costantino?
Yeah, you know what? Yeah, and he got that new fancy phone now where he can,
He has joined the Android Nation.
I told him he's got to be. I told him to download that Tiger Text application.
Quick pull?
No. The Tiger Text where it deletes your text messages after 24 hours.
I don't think Frank needs that.
I don't know. I've seen how he rolls. Why do you think he's never here? He's always shaking and baking.
Follow us on Twitter for all the hot news and all the updates, especially going into our coverage of WrestleMania 26, which we will talk about much more later, but it's going to be epic.
It's going to be ridiculous.
David, we got a little heat for this past Monday's radio show, and this, well, not unusual. We didn't talk.
Get heat.
You're a heat magnet, actually. We didn't talk about John Cena and Batista, and apparently the people out there want to hear our opinions on that storyline and what seemed to be the rebirth of Batista last Monday night on Raw. And he's saying the promo he delivered was some of the best work he has ever done on a mic.
I like the Dave Batista character.
Mm-hmm.
I like the cocky heel.
Current, past.
You know what? I guess I like him more as a heel than as the good guy, as the baby face, because he just has that aura about him.
Mm-hmm.
He just looks like a guy that could
easy to
kick
hate.
your teeth in.
Yeah.
I mean, he dresses well. He's got a great look. The whole thing. It's like, yeah, I don't like you. But I'm just still not hooked into the whole Batista John Cena match.
Is it Cena? Or is it the angle?
You know what it is? It's just both guys have been on top for so long lately. They've always had the big matches. I think it's safe to assume that John Cena will beat Dave Batista at WrestleMania. I don't see him leaving as champion.
Yeah.
So it's like one of those matches where they're like, okay, yeah, you know what? I'm sure it'll be a great 7 to 12 minute match. They'll get all their
7
stuff
to 12. Come on, give him more. It'll be 15 to 18, I'm sure.
7 and 12 minute match. They'll get all their stuff in.
They're on the poster. It's one of the headlining matchups.
And John Cena has the biggest spot on the poster. Unlike some guy in TNA that has the little picture and all the way in the back.
Some guy in TNA.
Some guy in TNA.
Some guy in TNA. It just keeps getting worse for you.
Hey, until I'm proven wrong.
Are you just jealous because you're not pimping?
No, I don't want to be pimping. You're pimping. But I'm not invested into that match yet.
All right.
I'll be honest, there isn't a match. The only match I'm invested into right now is probably Bret Hart and Vince McMahon. Just because I saw it from the beginning at the Montreal Screwjob.
Yeah. Well, I have never been the biggest fan of Batista, but I do like him a lot more now. I like him as a heel. I like him as a prick. I like him as just that guy, as I said before, that he's so easy to hate that you just want to hate him. And I think performing in this role, the only problem with it is my recent lack of tolerance for John Cena. John Cena, who, don't get me wrong, brings a lot to the table for WWE, is a hugely over superstar in WWE, but it's just so monotone, drawn out, repetitive.
He really is a
for what we
Marine.
get from him.
Not saying anything negative about Marines, but since he became that Marine character, that's when everything changed for him.
Yeah.
Not
for the better.
He was far more fun as the Vanilla Ice wannabe guy.
But he's more popular now than he was then. Substantially more popular.
Well, because it's been a longer build-up. But I really think that if he would have, kept some of that charisma he had back then, he'd still be the same star.
There is no doubt, though, that John Cena is the top face in WWE. If not the top star in WWE. Second maybe to The Undertaker.
You got to put a DX in there.
Yeah. Yeah. They're broken up now, though.
Right. So, and Undertaker, he still gets an amazing reaction.
Yep.
Here's how you got to look at it. We were at SmackDown.
Mm-hmm.
How many Undertaker glow sticks did we see?
Well,
Not that
Undertaker
many.
doesn't come out with them.
But you know what I mean.
He doesn't shamelessly plug them.
When we see far more DX merchandise than we see John Cena merchandise.
Yes.
But
I don't know how many grown men we saw with glow sticks. We saw a lot of grown men
He had
wearing.
a glow stick.
We saw a lot of grown men wearing John Cena clothing, though.
Yeah, that was kind of weird, wasn't it? I mean, when the Cos was wearing that John Cena jersey, I was like, whoa, Frank, what's going on here?
Well, we'll closely monitor that feud as it goes forward. I'm intrigued by it, especially Batista, who I think is carrying that.
But do you think Batista's going to beat John Cena at WrestleMania?
I don't think so. Given Cena's recent history and recent record, I don't think he can afford a loss at WrestleMania for his character. Ring of Honor has signed a familiar face to become the new voice of their live pay-per-view shows on the internet. Kevin Kelly, formerly of WWE, actually was there from 1996 through 2003. Was a play-by-play analyst on WWE Raw.
He was there through 2003?
Yeah.
Wow.
Hosted WWE Superstars and did a myriad of other things. Kevin Kelly, who is very bitter about WWE and really has no desire to go back to that company, but now offering some credibility and a voice, a recognizable voice, to Ring of Honor. Your thoughts?
I think he's going to definitely give them, not, legitimacy is not the right word, but just his knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
And people will be like, hey, I don't, Kevin Kelly. They know who he is.
Yeah. I know this guy. I remember this guy. Working with Dave Prazak, I presume.
It's going to be an interesting commentary booth.
The guy they had was enthusiastic. I don't remember his name, the older gentleman. And he may be sticking around to do the Monday night shows on HDNet. But I admire his spirit and energy, but he's more of a ShamWow kind of guy than a wrestling play-by-play kind of guy.
He's got an accent?
No. It's the ability to sell things, which ultimately that's what play-by-play men do at times, depending on the company. But I think this is a good move for them.
ShamWow guy.
An infomercial kind of guy.
See, I'm going to watch that now, and I'm going to be thinking the guy with the chop nuts and everything, and yeah, great.
Nobody beats Ron Popeil.
No, he isn't.
Did you ever have a Floby? No. I clearly did not. Didn't work for us.
Floby, are you kidding me? Didn't work for us?
Yeah. WrestleMania 26 is coming in just a few weeks, and the Pro Wrestling Report is going to be in Phoenix, Arizona, broadcasting all kinds of special episodes, including our weekly primetime show and more, coming to you from Baby Steak and Lemonade. Armando Estrada and who knows who else may show up. And
that's
we're
going to be
inviting.
tremendous.
It's going to be great.
Just so you know, I have invited some people to show up.
You'd be very surprised at who may end up on the PWR cameras come WrestleMania 26 weekend, and you will have that same opportunity. We want all of our fans, all of their listeners and viewers all over the world to stop on by Baby Steak and Lemonade. It's great food there, by the way. And we're going to be filming you, putting you on air and getting your thoughts on WrestleMania. All you need to do, if you want to go ahead and pre-register, is send an email to WM26@pwrshow.com. Again, that's WM26@pwrshow.com. We're going to have prizes. We're going to have some exclusive merchandise opportunities available
We're
there.
going to have divas.
It's going to be great.
Oh, it's going to be amazing.
That's WrestleMania 26. Nobody is covering it like we are. Coming to you from Phoenix, Arizona.
You really have to RSVP, because otherwise we can't guarantee you anything.
Absolutely. We've got a ton of you that already have RSVP, and we appreciate that, and we look forward to seeing you. The Kaz is going to be there.
Why did Kaz RSVP? He's going to be there already.
He thinks there might be some free food involved.
Well,
He's all about the hookup.
Well, there will be a catering section set up just for you, according to Armando.
WWE NXT Week 2, David. Your thoughts? Obviously, we were there at the debut episode. Daniel Bryan, the big star of the night. But coming up on Week 2 here, what did you take away from this week's broadcast of NXT? Reviews have been mixed out in the IWC.
I don't think it was as good as the first one because it was so well done.
Wasn't as shiny.
Well,
didn't have that new smell to it.
Well, here's the thing. I mean, you had a lot of Miz, you had a lot of Jericho in the first one. Guys that,
Jericho's on Superstars this week, apparently.
Wow, right?
What's that all about?
I never saw...
Hogan was on Superstars as champion once, though. I remember it.
That's a completely different Superstars, and that was probably against Rusty Brooks.
Could have been.
Absolutely. But, yeah, it just wasn't as strong. It wasn't as strong as last week, but, I watched it with, senior intern Cal, and he enjoyed it. He liked it a lot.
Good.
So, I mean, that's their demographic, are the young kids.
1.24 was the rating, about 1.7 million viewers, down slightly from last week. Still a good rating, though, for that show. But here is some of the feedback that we've gotten on it so far. There's nothing new to it. It's not fresh. Aside from the introductions of the talents and aside from a little bit of backstory and them working with the pros, which is very smart by WWE because it gets those names on the program as well, where's the newness? Where's the innovation? What makes it groundbreaking as far as it just being a wrestling program, which some people feel it will ultimately be?
You know what surprised me was that William Regal putting over that young kid.
Mm-hmm.
That shocked me.
But isn't that sort of what NXT is there for?
Yeah, but they could have done a storyline where the corn-fed meathead,
Yeah.
you know, the gimmick infringement character,
Mm-hmm.
where he, you know, puts over Gabriel, I think it is, and then they could work on corn-fed, who really was Ryan Reeves, I think, before he became
Really?
Skip Sheffield, yeah. And had those two work a program together where, you know, it's the Englishman against the Hick, which I think which would be entertaining.
Yeah, just from dialogue alone. Well, NXT will give it a try over the next few weeks. As much like we said with some other things recently in professional wrestling, you got to give it a little bit of time to stick. And you know, I wouldn't pass judgment on 2 weeks worth of it. First week very strong. Not every show is going to be a touchdown, if you will. But I don't think this one was bad. But people are starting to wonder, where's that newness? What's really different about it from ECW as opposed to a more defined platform to launch new stars?
Part of the problem is that you got such a heavy dose of Daniel Bryan,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
In the first week.
Yeah.
And that's the darling of the show.
Right.
That's who the people want to see. Well, when they don't get that same heavy dose the following week, well, then now they're not quite as happy with everything.
Eric Bischoff has launched the Micro Wrestling Federation, the MWF, if you will. Not launched, but it's been around actually, but now it's being taped and will be apparently airing on True TV as somewhat of a reality show. It's going to be taped in the Impact Zone, David. The first taping was actually last night. Actually, no, it's coming up. And the way they're enticing people to come to that taping is they're going to get VIP seating for the Destination X pay-per-view in Orlando.
Wow. You know, it's going to be great TV, I guess, for a week or two.
Really?
Yeah.
It's certainly going to, listen to the concept. It's not something that's ever really been done before. And talk about the curiosity play. It's going to grab viewers flipping by. It's like, oh, cool, midget wrestling.
As long as the people don't get all jerky about what's PC and whatnot.
Yeah. Well, they will.
You know.
And that's part of the, you know, Eric Bischoff, he lives it, he says it. Controversy creates cash. I'm sure that's a built-in element that
And
he's
you know,
planning on and hoping
Meatball, from Chicago has wrestled up here in this area quite a bit.
Mhm.
He's going to be one of the main stars of the MWF.
We'll be tuning in for sure. Once broadcast information becomes available to that for that, we will communicate that to you. But taped in the Impact Zone, I'm sure they can do different things to make it look different. They're not going to broadcast and say this is from the Impact Zone. It's really not affiliated with TNA at all, so let's get that point clear. It's a
You
Bischoff
think they use
Herbie
the same
production.
ramp?
Now, I would imagine they probably set the camera up opposite the other set of bleachers, because at that point you really can't tell it's the Impact Zone. What's so funny?
Just
Do a little aisle way that way.
why is that?
There's
why
so
is
much
it-
you wanna
why is it
say.
Little? No.
Well, because relatively speaking,
It's going to be interesting. It really is.
this
I wonder if they have a smaller ring.
they typically don't.
But they
Well,
should.
you never had an all little person type thing.
I think they should have a smaller ring. Short sleeve Samson's going to be there. Meatball. POD.
This will be fun. I'm intrigued by it. I'll
You
certainly
think they're
be-
going to have Mini Vader and Mini Goldust?
Ooh, yeah, that'd be fun. What about Mini Bret Hart?
And then the Mini Luchadors.
That'd be fun. It'd be
Rey
very fun.
Mysterio could go there when he's done with his contract.
Wow. Really? You just called him that?
Ray is not very tall.
He is
You
not
have
very
noticed.
tall.
No, he's
I've
not.
noticed.
Yeah.
I almost stepped on him once.
Wow.
David, we're bringing the viewers out there another interactive weekend. PWRshow.com is the place. 2 brand new episodes of PWR Interactive coming Saturday and Sunday exclusively to PWRshow.com. And thank you for tuning in to those of you that did last weekend. Such a success. We're going to do it again this weekend. 2 exclusive editions only available at pwrshow.com. We're going to be live on ESPN Radio again this Monday night, talking about the big Monday Night War that relaunches this Monday between WWE Raw and TNA Wrestling. And let's talk about that a little bit. The news has broken. The news has been leaked that RVD has apparently signed on with TNA Wrestling.
Shocking. That's why they released Tracy Brooks. They had to free up salary for RVD.
I'm sure that
That's why they got rid of Austin
the deal's
Kong.
a little bit different.
That's why Kong is gone. To free up money for RVD.
Well, keep in mind, yeah, all right, well, sure. I don't know, though, we talked about this on the radio show. Does TNA have room for these people? Meaning, they're already busting at the gills as far as talent goes. They've already got too much talent. They've already got too many bodies. They've already got too many people working. They don't have enough TV product to put the people prominently on there. So bringing in RVD, great, you have another name, and great, he can perform, and great, there are some talents that he could certainly have some epic battles with.
Who do you think?
AJ Styles? Think of that matchup.
Now that would sell tickets.
That match alone?
That match alone would sell tickets. You could put both those guys on the poster,
Mm-hmm.
and you'd sell out the Impact Zone.
Christopher Daniels, either of the Motor City Machine Guns, Consequences Creed, the Pope.
Yeah. See, now,
What?
whoa. How many guys did you list before the Pope?
I deliberately put the Pope
You
at the
said,
end.
no, you didn't. AJ, Daniels, Machine Guns, and then Pope? 5?
They were listed in no particular order. RVD, though, everybody's talking about TNA is not focusing enough on the X Division, blah, 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 blah. Is RVD not the definition of the X Division? So potentially maybe it means we're going to see more focus on that group with him coming on board. Or
RVD and Joe.
Mm-hmm.
That could be interesting.
Absolutely. Jeff Hardy, once he gets his legal troubles out of the way, it's all assumed that he is going to be joining TNA Wrestling on a full-time basis. Shannon Moore recently signed, and there could be more people they're talking to.
See, that's another reason why Tracy Brooks was released. They had to make room for Shannon Moore.
So, obviously, Impact's not going to come close to the rating that Raw will get this upcoming Monday. Chris Angel's the guest host, that's a big deal. But
What do you think he's going to do? What will he do with the Bella Twins?
make them disappear?
I
Make
can
their
see it.
clothes disappear?
Maybe. You got to figure Santino will be involved in it too.
Impact last time, it was on a Monday night with a lot of hoopla, a lot of new people coming in, some announced, some not. Got a 1.5 in the ratings, did its best that it had done as Impact, airing on any time, any station. Will it at least do that? Will it at least be that successful? Or is there not enough splash this time? Granted, they've been doing advertising. They've got some more billboards in Times Square.
Which you saw.
Hogan, and actually I didn't see any of them. I couldn't find it. I ain't crapping you. They've done advertising. They've put the word out. Hogan, Dixie, Eric, they've been on a media tour. And I wonder if they're talking too much, to be honest with you. But be that as it may, the word is out. People are sort of looking forward to it. This is the kickoff. Will the product that we saw last night on Impact and on subsequent weeks on Impact be enough to combat WWE Raw on Monday nights? If it's the same product, same formula that's been being used over the last few weeks.
They're not going to come close in the ratings. It just isn't because...
And no one should expect them to.
And especially going against Raw leading up to WrestleMania.
Mhm. Raw, which got 5.3 million viewers last week, slightly down from the week before, but still strong rating.
It's funny how people are saying that TNA is upset with Spike for leaking the whole RVD signing. I think it's the best thing they could have done.
Mm-hmm.
Now RVD fans are going to want to watch Impact.
Well, on January 4th, you knew Hogan and Bischoff were coming in. Those were the announced talents. You didn't know about the others, many of the others, but they got to get a name out there and give people a reason.
Which one were the others? I'm not trying to, make you look silly here.
Which ones were the others? Jeff Hardy.
Okay.
Ric Flair.
Okay.
I believe the Nasty Boys. Orlando Jordan.
And Val Venus.
Sean Morley.
Right? So
But they just kept coming.
They need to do a better job of saying, hey, bigger names.
But
RVD is that guy.
But
and Tommy Dreamer.
Don't you think people want to tune in to see what's going to happen as opposed to knowing what's going to happen? If they would have promoted that Orlando Jordan and Sean Morley were going to debut, I don't think it would have had as much impact as being surprised by seeing them on the January 4th show.
Were you surprised or let down with Orlando Jordan?
It was a little bit of both. It was a little bit of both. I didn't understand it. Now they're doing some unique things with the character. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, really unique.
Like
eunuch.
But so you're saying that the formula will work, the impact they've been doing.
Well, it depends because I've heard that Kurt Angle needs some time off.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's been the case since.
But he really
forever,
needs time off. So maybe that's where you bring RVD in to pick up the slack for Kurt Angle for a month or so. I think TNA has a legitimate chance to make things interesting. Do I think that TNA has the horses to pull them ahead of Raw? I don't think so. Just because the Raw
at this point,
because the Raw brand has been rolling hard, and it's the benchmark.
It's almost
Look at
like
the production values.
Right, completely different. It's almost like a new product launch. You know, you look at, let's use Hyundai for an example. They came into the market and they've just been barely climbing over the last several years with decent products and been somewhat popular. Now, you know, I think they've just overtaken Nissan as one of the top sellers in the United States. These things take time is the reason I say that. Nitro, when it first came in, did not immediately defeat Raw and momentum. And it's difficult to change the viewing habits and patterns of your audience, of the audience that's out there. So TNA has more of a challenge because they need to give people a reason every week to watch them over Raw.
They need to take their Monday night show on the road. And here's why. Because when you go to the Chicagos, the Milwaukees, the Minneapolises, the Omahas, you know, just in this area, you're coming to the town, you're advertising it. It creates an awareness. Hey,
people love being on TV.
There is another show.
Yep.
So let's go check it out. Okay, now we've been there, we've seen it. It just builds it.
And Eric Bischoff did address that because he was asked in a recent interview about the comparisons between this war and the prior war, and WCW was in a similar spot. They were doing stuff at the soundstage. They knew they had to take Nitro on the road. They knew it had to have that freshness, that newness, and that ability to be in different cities across the country in different arenas. Now you're talking astronomical costs, and I don't know if TNA has the same. I do know actually they don't have the same financial backing of the Turner network that WCW had.
Oh, I think they have. It's pretty close. Plus, Spike TV is a partner.
Absolutely. But how do you do that? You know, they're not going to, and this has been a flawed business practice, I think, for TNA. They're not going to these huge arenas. They're going to places like, if you want to keep it to Milwaukee, they're going to the Rave and do it and create an edgier look to the show.
But at the same time, then they go and do a pay-per-view in Detroit in a 12,000 seat building and sell 4,000 tickets.
Right.
So,
and that's the way it was in the past. Hopefully, they won't do that.
Hopefully? Come on, really?
I did not say that.
Every chance you get, you got to rub it in.
We had a couple of emails. Granted, we typically read emails on the Interactive Show, but this one came from Marcus Penna, who wanted to say something about the subject at hand, which is TNA's move to Monday nights. Marcus from Charlotte, North Carolina says, with TNA's move to Monday nights, do you think TNA will beat out WWE? If so, will this be a WCW repeat with the 84 weeks ratings win?
This might help you. There you go.
With the buyout or the opposite. I'm sorry, that's Marcus Pena. Thank you very much. Did you happen to hear the question I was reading?
I answered the question before you read the question.
Who knows what's going to happen? Raw has been there forever. It is the king of professional wrestling on Monday nights, and if TNA were to surpass them, it's going to take a long while for that to happen.
You know, I just question the timing of it leading up to WrestleMania.
Yeah.
It makes the most sense, but it makes the least sense.
Yep. Should have been 2 weeks after Mania, in my opinion.
Well, or even the Monday after WrestleMania, where people are wanting to see the results and they may come across it by accident.
Yeah, I think the timing is a little weird, but I also think that they did or wanted to do everything in their power to get this done as soon as possible and not wait any longer. But we'll see what happens. We are, as I said, going to be live again Monday night on 540 ESPN. Another interactive weekend at pwrshow.com with brand new special episodes of the Pro Wrestling Report Interactive. So be sure to tune in for those.
Don't forget.
I was just about to throw to you
It's
to
all
talk about.
it's all about you next Friday.
No, actually, it's all about the Iron Sheik.
Iron Sheik, baby. Iron Sheik coming.
I'm second on the marquee.
Iron Sheik coming to Milwaukee. Going to be in Milwaukee Friday night, the 12th, I believe it is.
Mhm.
And he's going to be down at Bar Louie on Water Street.
Great
where
place.
He is
It's a
going to
fantastic
be
place.
a celebrity judge for the, for lack of a better word, the Polar
Be
Bear
careful.
Bikini Contest. Can you imagine the Iron Sheik?
It's
judge for a
Sheiky's
bikini
going to have some
contest?
fun.
Sheiky baby.
They better stock up on the Jack Daniels.
Yeah. I'm going to have to keep a short leash on the Sheiky baby. And then he'll be in Racine on Saturday morning at 10 o'clock for the St. Patrick's Day Parade. And then he'll also be over at the Racine Journal-Times home show,
Hmm.
where he'll be signing free autographs with a paid admission. Just go to pwrshow.com for all that hot news, where you
Hot
can
news.
hang out with former WWF champion Iron Sheik.
And you can say two names to really make
No,
it exciting.
no, we don't want to do that, do we?
We don't want to do that. And actually, if you take a look at the interview we did with the Iron Sheik in video form on this program a couple of years ago, widely regarded as one of the more insightful interviews with Sheiky, because there wasn't any of that. And here's the problem, and I've expressed this to you, especially when we heard him on Stern. So many people take so much advantage of the Iron Sheik and treat him as a joke.
They exploit
And
him.
he's smart, he knows what's going on, but he does legitimately get hot about it when people bring up those two
And
names.
he's saying it too.
Yeah, and there's not going to be any of that in this particular situation or form, but it'll be fun.
Definitely come down to Bar Louie Friday night, about 9 o'clock. Iron Sheik.
Peter Bear
will be
cameras
there.
will be there, so be a part of it.
You know what? TMZ might be there.
Ooh,
Can you imagine that?
I haven't
You
been on
and
there
I-
yet.
Please, I'm begging you. All right, I don't want you and the Sheiky baby to be handcuffed, dragged out of Bar Louie Friday night.
It's a good story.
But you know that means I gotta call the legal team.
Controversy creates cash.
Yeah, we'll have to bring Kaz down so he has all the cash to bail you out.
Through his networks. We're, like I said, Monday night and interactive this weekend at pwrshow.com. RSVP if you're going to be out at WrestleMania 26. We've got people from all over the world that are going to be at Baby Steak and Lemonade with us. That's WM26 at pwrshow.com. For David Harrell, this is Damian Nelson saying thank you for tuning in to this week's edition of the Pro Wrestling Report. Primetime.